those tutors there so they can partner with you to make homeschooling easier. So that is something that you're allowed to do. It gets a little lost in the weeds when you start to do it for other people's kids and you're also doing it yourself. I'm not going to get into that technical part. You could reach out to HSLDA, their attorney, for those details, but you are allowed to homeschool with just a high school diploma or GED. And let me see if there are any questions regarding parents. No, a lot of them are regarding testing. So I'm going to talk about the testing near the end. Right here, actually. Testing requirements. You must test your child at the end of the 3rd grade and every 3 years afterward. So I look at it in grades 3, 6, 9, and 12. You must retain the records. You just keep them on file. You actually don't send them anywhere. So there was a question in the chat that in the app, and it said, are there any annual submissions, academic work, papers, projects, etc. required by the Georgia Department of Education? No, they're not. You keep them though, and I'll tell you why. Because you might have a nosy neighbor, you might have an upset family member, God forbid you might go through a divorce. If any of those situations happen, then they can call Child Protective Services, and then they'll come to your house and give you a visit, and then they'll say, where are your records? You'd be like, So while you're not required to submit anything, you should keep them. The way I like to keep my records is I have a binder at home, just a regular binder. I have loose leaf, like the plastic films, that page protectors. Yes, that's what they're called. I have the page protectors, and every time they do their tests, like if they're doing the ITBS, which is the Iowa Test of Basic Skills, you could do a California Achievement Test. It has to be a nationally recognized test. So it can't be like the Georgia Milestone Test. That's not counting because that's only in Georgia. It has to be something that's national. So any of those tests, whenever they take it and I get the results, I print it out. I don't leave it on my computer because something can happen to a computer file. I print it out, I put it in a slip, and I put it in my binder. Okay, so you definitely need to keep the records. We're supposed to keep attendance records. You keep them. You don't send them anywhere. There's another test requirement, test questions. They said there are so many tests on the market and available to access for the students. What is the name and type of recommended assessments or tests for the student to ensure that they are grasping the required concepts? So honestly, it's up to you and it's up to what your goals are. Okay, so I always ask a parent, okay, so what are your goals? And it also depends on how old your child is. If your child is in high school, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, the SAT, the ACT, the PSAT, those are all considered nationally standardized tests. If my child's in high school, I'm going to be giving them those tests, okay? I'm going to sign them up for one of those tests and have them go ahead and get started on that, especially if you plan to put them in college, okay? So if your mind is college or you want that to be an option for them, then you want to go ahead when they're in the high school, start with the PSAT, the SAT, and all of that. And you definitely want to make sure you do the PSAT in the 11th grade because that's when it counts for scholarships, okay? You can speak to me about that later. I graduated with my college degree, master's and bachelor's with no debt because of scholarships. So you want to make sure that you take advantage of those little things like PSAT in 11th grade. 11th is when it counts. So you want to start, if that's your route. So that's what I would say for high school. Now, if college is not your baby's jam and it's not even close to being your baby's jam and you don't even want it to be an option for them, then maybe consider the California Achievement Test. That's something that can be administered. It's really low-key, low-stress. When I think of a low-key, low-stress standardized test, that's a California Achievement Test. So that's a test when people are like, I don't really want to do that one. Okay, if you plan to put your child in public school or you want to have that option, maybe thinking about it, I would probably recommend the Iowa Test of Basic Skills, the ITBS, because that's something that a lot of public schools are familiar with. If there's any questions about or a private school, if there's any questions about what grade level they need to be put in, normally they'll just put them in the grade level that is appropriate for their age. But if you think your child is accelerated and you want them to be in a different grade level, then having an ITBS would help support your case. It's not necessary, but I mean, that's what I think of when I think of, okay, what type of test am I going to give my child to meet this requirement? There's some other ones, some newer ones that have come on the market. I haven't personally used them, so I can't really say anything about that, but those are the kind of tests that I think of when you think about testing requirements. Now there's a debate about if it's third grade, or say your child is in 8th grade or say they're in 5th grade and they started homeschooling in 5th grade, then some people say, oh, well, my third year would be 8th grade. You could talk to the Georgia Department of Education for all of that. I kind of just stick with the 3, 6, 9, 12. It's just easier to keep track of. Any questions about the testing? ITBS, the Iowa Test of Basic Skills. And I have some veteran homeschoolers in here. So if you guys want to jump in and add anything to it, feel free. Yeah. Ooh, I have a mic.
Hi, my name is Jenny Kazmiski, and I'm with the Georgia Home Education Association. And if you're planning to test your children this spring, we are actually taking a part in a nationwide research project to collect information on how homeschoolers are doing. And you know, we hear statistics like homeschoolers do better than public school or private school, but actually some of that information comes from a study that was done about 10 years ago. And we would like to update that information. So GHEA is taking part in that research project, as are several other homeschool organizations across the country. So if you are interested in participating in that, we have some information back at our table, and I'd love to put you in touch with that. So
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I did not know. And if you're looking for places, now parents, you guys can administer it yourself, get the tests and administer them yourselves. Epic Homeschool Network, which is an organization I'm a part of, we administer it every year. So you can reach out to me and find out more information about that. So we administer it every year. Our next testing period is in June. But you are able to administer it yourself depending on the provider.
one more thing I'd like to add, if you do participate in this survey, it's anonymous, so it would not be connected with your child's name or anything like that. So.
Excellent. All right, so that's testing information. Oh, one more. You can ask it, I'll repeat it. You can use a score from the school. You have a test. Yeah, so I would just use that. So her question was, her son is in private school, so you're ready, and they do an ITBS every year, so she already kind of has a test. So I would just wait till 6th grade for the next test, because you already have one from 3rd grade. All right, so those are testing requirements. And I'll go back to the chat later if you're submitting questions online. I'll go back and check that to see if there are any updated questions. All right, required records. The instructor shall write an annual progress assessment report in each required subject area for each student. These reports shall be retained for at least 3 years. Now, the annual progress assessment report does not necessarily need to be a report card with a grade attached. You can actually do what we call is it a subject, it's a technical name that I know we use in the classroom, but it's pretty much a way where you describe the skills that your student mastered, and instead of assigning a grade. So you would say, my daughter's name is Avi, so Avion can multiply multiplication facts from 0 to 12 with fluency. Avion has demonstrated the ability to blah, 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 blah. Avion has demonstrated the ability to blah, blah, blah. So every goal that you've set for them that they've met, you would put that in the annual assessment report. That's another way of doing it. I did that one year. It's very time consuming. It does take a lot of work. if you want to do it that way. So I like the report card. I could just put a little grade on there, sign a grade, and do it that way. But I just say that to say an annual assessment report does not need to have a grade attached. It could just be a demonstration of the skills. And my computer's saying, track your time. That's okay. And then you keep them for 3 years. Again, sheet protectors, I print them out. I put them in a sheet protector. For each child, they have like their own, actually, every child has their own folder. So that's kind of how I keep my required records. Yes. Uh-huh. Skills Book Pro? Gradebook Pro. How are you going to give us an Apple device? App. I'm an Android girl. We're about to have an Apple Android war at the Homeschool conference. So for those who are watching online, one of the sisters in here shared that there's an app on Apple called the Gradebook Pro. So I have to look it up for my Android, where it will track the skills that your child is learning. So you can do a skills-based report card, I think is what we call it in the education system, if you don't want to assign a grade. All right, calendar requirements. You're only required to teach 180 instructional days and 4.5 hours per day. Remember, home ec is a course, okay? Home ec is a course, and so is PE. So you can make up that 4.5 hours per day in different ways. I like to recommend that you do an entire calendar year. So even though when you do the declaration of intent, I do July 1st to June 31st. Like, I do the entire full year when I do my calendar, because then it gives you more flexibility if you don't complete in 180 days. And I recommend for a lot of families to do that. I think that's the best way. Curriculum, you do not have to use an accredited program. However, your program must include the following 5 content areas: mathematics, English language arts, reading, social studies, and science. All right? You do not have to use an accredited program. But it makes life easier when you get into the high school area in certain cases. You have accrediting associations like the Northeast Preparatory Academy, who's here today too. So if you want to have the freedom to do what you want to do for high school, but you want to make sure their diploma is accredited, you can do organizations like that. EPIC is in the process of getting our accreditation, so we could do that for our high schoolers. So that just kind of makes that transition for college a little bit easier. It also allows them to qualify for the Hope Scholarship a little bit nicer without having a high requirement. I know GHEA is working on some things so that the requirement isn't so strict for homeschoolers, but having an accredited diploma opens up that door so that you don't have to have like a 1400 on your SAT or whatever the new scale score is. They change the numbers. So that is part of the benefit of having an accredited program, but you don't have to use one. Honestly, when my children, they're in elementary school and middle school, I did not use an accredited program for that, because why do they need to be accredited? It's my own stuff. So, but you can. Any questions about that? What time is it? All right. Are there specific, tell me I gotta go. All right, are there any specific documents, calendars, or materials one should be using versus creating your own? Create your own. You don't have to use anything. Declaration of intent, you must register your child every year using the online Declaration of Intent form. This is a short link that will take you to the Declaration of Intent. I got tired of trying to tell people where to go on the Georgia Department website. It's like this really weird website address. So if you do that, it will redirect you to the Declaration of Intent. So that's where I go now. I just say, GeorgiaHomeschoolNetwork.org/laws, and it'll take you to the Georgia Department of Education's website to do your Declaration of Intent. Set a reminder in your phone. I have a calendar reminder every year. before September 1st to remind you to do it. So just have it like an annual event recurring in your phone to remind you, ooh, and probably set it for August 1st. August 1st, do my declaration of intent. August 1st, do my declaration of intent. August 1st, so that by September 31st, you've already got it done. I actually do that for my homeschoolers. We have a reminder that goes out every year. All right, some new things that's happening that you might not know of, or if you have high schoolers, just to be aware, they can obtain driving permits and licenses and work permits, and to obtain them, you just get a copy of the electronically signed Declaration of Intent to the DOE, from the DOE website, with the 36, you get your Declaration of Intent, that's all you need. That's what all that is saying, get your Declaration of Intent. The only thing that the Georgia Department of Education will provide is for when you want to get the work permits, okay? So you do need to reach out to the Georgia Department of Education to get the work permits, but for the driving license, you just use that Declaration of Intent that you filled out and print it out, save it. I print it out and I save it on my hard drive. I print it out and I put it in one of those little sheet protectors. I have one for every year. And so whenever I need to use it, I can just pull it out, okay? Another cool thing, and we want to thank JEHEA and everyone working for the Dexter-Mosley Act. You hear us keep talking about that, but that's a new law that authorizes homeschool students to participate in extracurricular sports. So my daughter is doing tennis now at Lithia Springs High School because of the Dexter-Mosley Act. So it's really cool, something you want to take advantage of. Oh, go ahead. Just go. Yeah, just go to the school, because every school is different and every school has different requirements. So some schools are saying, oh, you need to take one class with us for it to count, or some schools are saying different things. And if a school gives you a lot of pushback, I definitely recommend joining HSLDA so you could reach out to their attorney and say, hey, I'm having some problems. What I did was my daughter said she wanted to do tennis. So I said, oh, you want to do tennis? So I went to the school in my district, which is, I don't want to tell y'all because I don't want them to get in trouble. I went to the school in my district, right? And I found who the coach was, and I sent her an email. I went straight to the source, and I sent her an email, and I said, my daughter's a homeschool student who's interested in doing tennis. What do I need to do? And I sent it to her like last year, like before she was even in high school. And I said, what do I need to do? And she said, oh, well, we have tryouts in January, so just bring her up, and I give you the packet of the form she needs to fill out because they have to do the physical and all that stuff. So she emailed me the packet, just have her fill that out and bring it up to the school, and she can try out, and we'll see how it goes. Brought her up to the school, she tried out. Actually, I thought it was like, I had to wait and stuff and be approved and everything. She's like, oh, she made the team, here are the dues. I'll see you next week. No, she said, I'll see you tomorrow. And so now she's doing tennis. So just go directly to the source. Yeah, go ahead. Yes. It has to be in your district. Don't get us in trouble. They didn't ask me all that. But every school is different. I'm finding out that my experience is not everybody else's experience. So every school is different. Like, they didn't require me to have her do a class at the high school for any period of time or anything. They're just like, bring her up. Sounds good. I think, so every school is different. All right. Oh, go ahead. I've also reached out to some private schools, and they're also yes. Private schools, they really are. They were the first to be open to homeschoolers joining their teams. Private schools are actually the first to do that. I will say that because I get emails from private schools all the time saying, hey, do you have somebody who wants to play basketball for us? I was like, no, but I keep that in mind. All right, so we're wrapping it up. She's looking at me. I think we're doing good. This is the last slide, sort of, maybe. Tips for starting strong. So I gave you guys a lot of background information, a lot of details, a lot of information. But I want you, when you think about starting strong and how do I do this homeschool thing, now that you have the information, I want you to take a step back and I want you to reflect on like this past year. Like think about the pain points and think about the highlights when you're trying to start strong, because you want to figure out, okay, why am I homeschooling? Like, what is the reason that why am I doing all of this? What made me kind of get here, right? And you want to reflect on that, because that will also influence your choices. Then I would say imagine, like take a step back and imagine, okay, this is what my homeschool year would be great if, and think, okay, if I just stop for a second, I wrote this, I finished that sentence, this homeschool year would be great if, you know, fill in the blank, right? Just set the timer and take some time to just say, what would make this homeschool year great? This homeschool year would be great if my son mastered his multiplication facts. Like, what is it? It doesn't even have to be that. If they learn how to swing. I was just talking to someone, they were like, you know, when I took my oldest to the playground for the first time, and I put her on the swing, she just looked at me, and I'm like, swing. And she didn't know how, because she didn't go to the playground. So I had to teach her how to swing. So, you know, just think about any of those practical things. It doesn't have to be academic all the time. But then set your homeschool vision, mission, and goals. Have you ever heard that, a homeschool vision, mission, and goal? We have them for businesses. We have them for all the things. There's so many different types of homeschoolers. You're going to meet some of them in the Lunch and Learn later. There are different types of homeschoolers. And if you don't have a clear vision, mission, and goal of what you want, you're going to get sidetracked with something that's not for you, that's not your lane. Right? And you want to make sure you stay in your lane for you and for your family. So set your homeschool vision, mission, and goals. And I actually have some workshops and things where I do all of that. So if you want more information on that, you could talk to me about that later. But you want to set your homeschool vision, mission, and goals, okay? Vision is the overarching, I want my kids to be 21st century Christian leaders. Mission, how am I going to get there? Bible-based curriculum, hands-on learning. And then what are your goals? And then create a system. And I say using an individual learning plan. In the education world, we would create learning plans for different things, but kind of create one for yourself, for your children. Like, what is your learning plan? So this is when I get, like, I'm like that detail-oriented kind of person. So I kind of like to go into the weeds. But if you're not like that, then that's okay. But still have an overarching goal, a vision, mission, goals. But create a system to make that happen. Like start thinking about routines that you can implement to make sure that homeschool goes well. So for me, my system was if I had a good table time at the beginning of the day, then my homeschool day was going to be good. And when I say table time, that was the morning time. I didn't have a set time on it, because I'm not going to talk to you guys about what time my kids go to bed and wake up, because y'all talk about me. But whatever time they get up, they come down to the kitchen, they're at the table, we're eating breakfast. At the table, I wrote out, like, at first I had to write it out because I had to plan it out. And then after a while, we got into the routine. So it was, we sat at the table, they're eating their breakfast. While they're eating their breakfast, we're having worship. Right after worship, we're doing our multiplication facts, because that was something, like we're doing the things, the memory work, right? If they're learning the days of the week song, the months of the year song, multiplication facts, so like just the memory work. And then we would do our math, we would do our science and our social studies together at the table. After that, that's when they broke out into their different, you know, math for, you know, whatever levels they're doing. And I would kind of rotate through because I have 3 kids. So, but the table time would kind of set the tone for the day. If I did table time, I knew it was going to be a good homeschool day. Oh, the teens. I forgot the teens. For those who are watching online, we just heard some noise, and we're just like, what is that? I forgot we have a teen program. They're in the hallway taking their break. All right, so create a system. You can use individual learning plans and different types of systems, but create a system. And if you're looking for where you can find out more about that, I do have the Homeschool Focus Planner, which is something I created. You can find it on the studyhalledu.store/planner. That's my paid teacher store. And there's a digital copy of the Homeschool Focus Planner that I put on sale just for you guys. I was like, let's put it on sale. It's not a lot. It's normally $4.99. But you can download it and print it out and use some of the tools in there to help you in your homeschool. And again, do I need to go back? I'll go back. All right. So the study hall edu.store/planner. Excellent. Now you can read more again on Georgia homeschool laws. Go straight to the source. If you go to that website, it will redirect you to the Georgia Department of Education website. It's just a nice, easy website for me to give you instead of ga.doe.edu.gov. Blah, blah. I don't even know what it is. I'm like, you guys are killing me. And I finished at 12:30. I've got time for questions, but before I do, I have 2 books that I'd like to give away. One, 101 Tips for Homeschoolers, Loving Your Homeschool Experience. All right. Who would like the book? I saw their hands go up first. All right. I saw 3 hands. I wanted to see how many hands would go up. You know what? Y'all 2 get it, because y'all put your hands up first. We're going to go back there. Renee, and then all the way in the back. Tell me what your name is again. Shonda, come on up. What does the Bible say? You ask not, you get not because you don't ask or whatever. Don't be slow, y'all. Be quick. All right. Any questions before we go? Yes. So you have a problem with your daughter respecting that you're the teacher? Just like, not mommy. She wants, like, let me show you how to do this. I don't like this thing. Show you how to do this, and she's more like, you do it, and I want to sit in your lap, and I want you to be mommy. How old is your daughter? She's 3. I'm over. You are. Yeah. I tell you, okay, so I do have a philosophy. Okay, so I'll be real with y'all, and you can judge me all you want, but I have a philosophy that says better late than early, okay? I do not believe in formal education before the age of 6. Like sit down formal, like what you're trying to do with your daughter. I don't believe in it. There is actually Dr. Raymond Moore, who is considered the father of homeschooling. I would look him up on YouTube. He actually has a book that's called Better Late Than Early. And I started reading about him. So my background is education, but I'm secondary education. I'm math education, right? I did learn that the first 7 years of a child's life are the most formative, and that's what made me want to homeschool. But I didn't really know that much about early childhood education, and it was because of reading his books and understanding. Even Harvard has some research. There's lots of research out there that says we shouldn't be forcing learning on our children so young. But as working moms, we don't want to hear that research. We need them to go somewhere so we could go to work, right? So society has kind of hidden that research. And just say, oh, if they read by the age of 3, they're more likely to do this. But then do you notice how we're having more issues mentally? How we're having more people suffering from depression, more kids having more issues, because we're pushing them too soon. Go ahead.
Speaking from personal experience.
Yes, please.
With that, because, okay, where I'm from culturally, by the age of 2, let me give you an example. Like I said, I've been in the school system from daycare all the way through college. So when I was in daycare and in my class, I had 2-year-olds in diapers, and I'm like, what the heck? Why are there 2-year-olds in diapers? Because in my country, 2-year-olds are walking to school. And so from personal experience, that constant push, when I got to high school, the last year that really mattered, I was like,
done.
I was done.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I deliberately went to school, sat in the library, and didn't take my final exams.
What?
I was done.
And that's really important because
And so that's what I'm trying not to do with my kids, where they get burnt out.
yes,
So you have to find like that balance. Like with my kids, did I teach them stuff like that? Yes. But it's not forced. Like you have to sit and do this. Go run around and do it. The stuff is right there. And they'll eventually gravitate towards
Yeah.
it and figure it out themselves. Just provide the space. They had all the manipulatives on the floor, and I just sat there and let them do what they're doing.
and you still read to them and you still introduce things to them, but I've just been told they're cutting the mic on me. So if you're watching online, thank you for joining. I will hop in. I'll probably do like, if the app allows, like a Q&A or something in the app so that we can keep the conversation going, because I saw so many hands go up and we could talk forever. If anything, you guys can get your food and come back in here we could kind of just sit back in this area and I would just kind of talk offline. So we could kind of do that, but we do want you guys to get your food and we do want to get the lunch and learn and open up the wall. But I'll walk around and we can talk a little bit more. But I want to thank you guys for being here. Thanks for being patient with the technical difficulties, and I'll pass it to Michelle.
And let's thank Andrea Hall for her wonderful information. I know I wasn't in the room, but this is a great room to be in. Like I said earlier this morning too, when I was homeschooling, really appreciated just hearing all of this kind of information and just being, revitalized and ready to do things the right way. That's the important thing, to do things the right way. And so, yes, so we obviously Andrea wears many hats, so we're glad that she was able to present. So right now what we're going to do is, yes, we're going to have somebody come and move the walls. The lunch is laid out in the lobby, so you will come back in and you will just grab your lunch and come back to a table, and the panel is going to be Homeschooling Your Own Way, Methods and Philosophies. So there will be different people from road schooling to unschooling to all different kinds of methods of homeschooling, so that you can just either go the path you're going or rethink things and go another way. So a little bit of a break, and we will see you back again soon.